The cervix. In this video, we're going to be discussing the cervix, cervical smears, and colposcopy. So starting off with the cervix. The cervix is a tubular structure, 2 to 3 centimeters long, which is continuous with the uterus. It connects the uterus to the vagina. The histology of the cervix is interesting. So here we can see a cross-section of a cervix, with the endocervix up here, which is lined by columnar epithelium and continuous with the uterine lining. And here we've got the ectocervix, which is lined by squamous epithelium and continuous with the vaginal epithelium. Now where they meet is called the squamocolumnar junction. Now in normal circumstances, the acidic pH in the vagina will result in metaplasia of the exposed columnar cells into squamous cells. And this area of changing cells is referred to as the transformation zone. The columnar cells become exposed to this acidic pH because of eversion of the cervix, which occurs in hyperestrogenic states such as puberty, pregnancy, and women on the pill. This eversion of the cervix will appear as an ectropia on an examination, as we can see in this image, where the columnar epithelium of the endocervix is visible as a red area around the os on the surface of the cervix. And this is a normal physiological finding. Now, if the cells undergoing metaplasia are vulnerable, for example, if they contain the carcinogenic human papillomavirus, HPV, then these cells may undergo dysplasia, where they become abnormal cells, and therefore, this is a pathological process now. Okay, so how do we differentiate between the physiological process and the pathological process? We do this by taking a look at the individual cells by means of cytology, which is the study of cells. And these cells are obtained by means of a pap smear. Great, so a quick overview of how we take a pap smear. So of course we start off by explaining to the patient what we are going to do. The patient is positioned either in the lithotomy position, as we can see here with the legs in the stirrups, or else with the ankles drawn up towards the buttocks and knees apart. The cusco speculum is inserted in order to bring the cervix into view, and then a cervical brush is used to scrape the cells from the squamocolumnar junction by turning the brush clockwise 360 3 times. It's important that the squamocolumnar junction is reached because, as we said, this is where the abnormal cells will be. Now, there are different sampling devices which may be used. So here we've got a spatula, which is not so commonly used nowadays. From the spatula, the cells were transferred directly onto a microscopy slide. Then we have the cytobrush and cervical broom. Both of these samplers are rinsed into a cell suspension, or in the case of the cervical broom, the head is completely detached into the container. And this is referred to as liquid-based cytology. Liquid-based cytology is preferred over conventional smears, as it allows for most cells to be evaluated, and you can also test for HPV on the same sample. Another thing to mention is that the cytobrush is sometimes used when the squamocolumnar junction is deep within the cervix, as it is able to reach deep within the canal. However, it is usually the cervical broom which is used day to day. Okay, so next, once we've obtained our sample of cells, this is examined under a microscope. So over here now we're going to discuss what characteristics are associated with abnormal cells. So in the first image we can see normal squamous cells, while in the second we can see severe dyskaryosis. Why? Because of the increased nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio, so the nucleus is much larger and taking up much more space within the cell. There is nuclear hyperchromasia, so we can see that the nucleus is much darker, containing more chromatin, and there is nuclear envelope irregularity. Next, so once we have taken the smear test and examined it under the microscope, the cytologist will grade the cells according to their severity. The Bethesda classification system is used to report smear tests. So again, here we're referring to a cytological result, and the result would usually be received at home by post. So first, we've got perfectly normal cells. It may be inadequate because cells from the transformation zone were not obtained. It may be inflammatory due to an overlying infection, borderline, where the cytologist may have found difficulty in deciding whether the cells are normal or not, low-grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, LSIL. So over here there are abnormal changes of a low grade. High-grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, HSIL, abnormal changes of a high grade. Ascus, atypical squamous cells of undetermined significance. So there are abnormal cells, but it is uncertain whether they are of a low grade or high grade. Agus, atypical glandular cells of undetermined significance. So abnormal columnar cells, possibly pointing towards an endometrial problem here rather than a cervical one. And lastly, carcinoma in situ. Okay, so we've seen what cytological characteristics make a cell abnormal and the cytology results. Now, in theory, how does our cytology result relate to the histology? Histology being the study of tissues. Okay, so here we've got our cells which are progressively becoming more abnormal. So we've got mild, moderate, and severe dysplasia. So normal cells at cytology will give us a normal epithelium at histology. Now, with mild dysplasia, we will have some abnormal changes in our epithelium. And here this is referred to as CIN1, cervical intraepithelial neoplasia 1, where we've got atypical cells in the lower 1/3 of the epithelium. Next, moderate dysplastic cells will give us CIN2, with atypical cells found in the lower 2/3 of the epithelium, while severe dysplasia will result in CIN3, where atypical cells are found in the full thickness of the epithelium. So CIN is essentially a histological diagnosis, as we are looking at an entire epithelium. And these are all referring to premalignant lesions, of course CIN3 having a worse prognosis than CIN1. Now, how do we obtain this histological sample? So this is by means of a cervical biopsy obtained during a colposcopy. A colposcopy is a procedure carried out under local anesthesia, where we take a look at the cervix with a microscope and use several stains and filters to see the epithelium more clearly. So first, we clean the cervix with normal saline to get rid of any discharge obscuring the view. Then a green filter is applied to the light coming from the microscope, and this green filter allows for any abnormal blood vessels to be viewed more clearly. Okay, then 5% acetic acid is applied, which will stain denatured protein white. So, since abnormal cells are rapidly dividing, they are constantly undergoing protein synthesis. So the abnormal cells will stain white, and this is referred to as aceto-white staining. Next, we apply Lugol's iodine. This stains the glycogen stores brown, so our abnormal rapidly dividing cells are using up all of their glycogen stores. So the abnormal cells will not take up the iodine stain. These abnormal cells will be found in the iodine negative areas. Great. So that's it for this video. There's much more to say about the cervix, so stay tuned for the next few videos. Like and subscribe. Thank you.